Spector came to me with the idea of making a track to kind of demonstrate the new dimension and ethos bases. So it starts out with a very issues sounding riff, a very heavy sort of like greasy like R&B metal riff. And then it goes into something that's a little more reminiscent of my solo material, which is like kind of post-punky funk and psychedelic, whatever. Both these basses sound awesome, which you'll hear in a sec. So let's talk about it. So typically I'll start with a drum pattern before I'll start with like the bass line melody. And it started with a really specific like ba 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 ga ga fill. The whole rest of the riff kind of became a game of just how cool could I make that kind of repetitive rhythm sound and what kind of melody could I throw on top of it. I'm gonna play it and just listen for the ba ba ga ga for that. So. Basically, the melody is ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's really simple, but the way I kind of get it to sound interesting and more like diverse isn't just picking a bunch of random notes. Like I'm sticking to the melody, and chord melody is like really important to me. But all I'm doing is instead of going, I'm going with that slide, and the second time. So we have like a little variation there. It's not too much, but if you take out the open notes and without the, I guess the chugs and stuff, it's not too complicated what's going on. So the next section, which we'll call the psychedelic funk weirdo section, psychedelic funk for short. I'll play it first, and you can kind of hear that same groove that we started the metal thing, like the initial section with, but just living through a different sort of chord melody. And now there's just no heavy guitar, so you can hear more bass. So it starts like this. That main groove, I keep that going throughout the whole thing, and that's how you connect one section to another. And the idea behind this section specifically was sort of more to reference my solo music, where I kind of do this a lot, where I'll have a consistent groove and just like a bass sort of like funk thing happening. So to transition into the next part, this is my white whale. This is hard for me. I have no shame in admitting that. So that's the lick. So that was literally just like, it's a bass demo. I got to do something fast just for fun. And then we have a rhythmic sort of almost like drum fill on bass. We have like like that's, you can literally just hear that like on drums, and that would like totally work. But my harmonic kind of thinking is we just have 1, 5, and we have a 6 basically, and then we have 2, 5. So again, boil it down to the simplest elements, right? And then you can make it sound really cool. So that next section, it's basically just a call and response sort of vibe, but the initial idea, the heavy call versus the like really affected sort of Jimi Hendrixy response, the call is just based on the riff that we heard at the very beginning. So I'm gonna play just the call part. But one more time, because it's kind of like topsy-turvy. So that's the main part, and then the second time it just rhythmically displaces. So I love playing with pedals, and I love the angular pedals. The aggro pedal has been on my board for, man, 8 years, something like that. We have the filter twin going into the phaser, going into the aggro, and I've had these on this whole time. This is just like evergreen. I just love compressors because they make me sound good. So initially we have no effects. Then we're gonna do filter, just the filter. So you can kind of hear it. It's not really going like crazy, but it's enough to like definitely show up. Then we turn on the phaser right after. So you can kind of hear it, like, especially just now when I played, when I went up there, the filter and the phaser like agreed on a frequency for a second. Oh, it's so nice. And then the drive, that just makes it less like smooth jazz. Makes it like awesome. And then the second line, so basically what I'm doing there is I'm giving it a little bit of just like extra repetition, just with things that you've already heard. That's where this comes from. So that lick is obviously based on the very intro and the call and response thing we just heard. And this part, that's just to give you a breath of fresh air for a sec, because we need it, before this next part. So that part basically is just like, can I play? I want to shred for a sec. But the way you get away with that, something like that, is literally just to give a breath of fresh air right before it. That's the longer note here. And then we go into, and then we finish with the same phrase we started the whole thing with. Or, gotta give that a shake too. Yeah, and that's basically the long and short of it. So yeah, my name is Skyler Acord. I hope you enjoyed me breaking down this track. It was a hell of a lot of fun to make. Keep your eye out for these basses, the Ethos and the new Dimension. They sound awesome. So you can catch me on tour with my own stuff. You can catch me on tour with 21 Pilots, on tour with who knows, whoever calls me next. I'll be around.